Welcome to Recap King. In this video, we will explain Split. This movie tells the story of 3 girls kidnapped by a man with a diagnosed 23 distinct personalities. They must try to escape before the apparent emergence of a frightful new 24th. Will they survive the attack of the psychopath with multiple personalities? Let's find out in Split. Split begins with the story of a beautiful teenager named Casey. She is a quiet person, often seen alone, and does not want to hang out with her peers. Casey's friends were seen in the other corner of the room getting ready to go home. But when he found out that Casey's car broke down, Claire's father, who came to pick up Claire and Marcia, invited her to go home with them. The 3 young girls entered the car parked in the building's yard. When Claire's father entered the luggage into the trunk, suddenly a strange man appeared and attacked him. The unknown man was named Kevin Wendell Crumb. Then, Kevin got into the car, sprayed a drug, and kidnapped the 3 teenage girls. When they woke up, the 3 girls were already in a room in the basement which was quite comfortable. There is a bed and a clean bathroom in the room where they are kept. Claire and Marcia looked very panicked when they found out that they were kidnapped, whereas Casey seemed very calm and resigned to what had happened. The scene then switched to a very luxurious office room belonging to Dr. Karen Fletcher, a well-known psychiatrist who is treating a patient named Barry. Upon entering her office, Dr. Fletcher saw on TV news about the kidnapping of 3 teenage girls. Then, she turned to the computer screen where she received an email message from Barry. In her email, Barry asked to meet her for a therapy session. Not long after, Barry appeared to enter Dr. Fletcher's office. It turned out that the patient who claimed to be named Barry was Kevin, who had kidnapped the 3 teenage girls. Kevin came to visit Dr. Fletcher because he suffers from a personality disorder called dissociative identity disorder. This personality disorder arises in a person because the person has experienced severe trauma enough that the person creates another personality to fortify himself and help him avoid bad memories. Symptoms are characterized by having 2 or more types of personality identities. Each personality that appears can have a name and characteristics that are unique. What is unique about Kevin is that currently, the total personality he has is 23 personalities. One of his evil personalities is when he becomes Dennis and kidnaps the 3 young girls. Meanwhile, every time they come for a therapy session with Dr. Fletcher, Kevin's personality is Barry, a talented fashion designer. He is calm and level-headed, wearing a casual t-shirt, beanie hat, and jacket. Even Barry showed some pictures of his clothes designs that looked like professional designer drawings. Back to the basement, where the 3 girls are kept. As they peeked through the gap in the door, they saw a woman wearing a long red dress. They screamed and called for help from the woman. They hoped that the woman would help them to get out. However, when the door opened, it turned out that the woman they saw wearing a long red dress was Kevin, who was being Patricia, one of her other personalities. Patricia's personality is Kevin's strongest and most dominating personality. Patricia was the one who masterminded the idea of kidnapping the 3 teenage girls because, according to Patricia, the 3 teenagers were needed to be made an offering to the 24th personality who was about to appear. After that, Patricia left the room. Not long after, Kevin appeared in their room again using Dennis' personality with a changed shirt in which he wore glasses and a long shirt buttoned up to the neck. Dennis is one of those personalities who is obsessed with order and cleanliness. He came to the room of the 3 girls with cleaning fluid and asked them to clean the bathroom in the room they were locked in. At midnight, the 3 girls were surprised by the appearance of Kevin sitting at the door of their room. At that time, what emerged from Kevin was the personality of Hedwig, a 9-year-old boy with a speech made like a child. Hedwig informs that Kevin's other personality will come that will eat them. While talking to Hedwig, Casey realizes that the person who kidnapped them has a personality disorder. So, she tries to persuade Hedwig to help get them out of the basement before Dennis and Patricia's personalities resurface. However, Casey's attempts were unsuccessful as Hedwig was more afraid of Patricia and he closed the door right away. Feeling desperate because there was no way anyone would get them out of the basement room, the 3 girls tried to find their own way out by punching holes in the roof of the room. Unfortunately, Dennis caught their action, who suddenly entered the room again. Claire managed to run out of the house and hide in a locker, but Dennis can find her and he punishes Claire by locking her in a different room alone so that her chances of escaping are getting smaller. The scene switches to Kevin, who is being Patricia and dressing Casey. After the 2 girls looked neat and beautiful, Patricia invited Casey and Marcia to have dinner in a dining room. While eating and Patricia was caught off guard, Marcia took the initiative to attack her. She took a wooden chair and threw it on Patricia's back. Surprisingly, Patricia didn't feel any pain after being hit by a chair. Marcia then ran out of the dining room and tried to find a way out. Meanwhile, Casey just stood frozen while gaping in shock after seeing what had just happened. Patricia chases after Marcia and can catch her back. Then, Marcia has the same fate as Claire, where she is locked in a different room with Casey. The next day, as usual, Kevin came to visit Dr. Fletcher using Barry's personality. In the therapy session, Kevin revealed why he formed the 23 personalities in him. Kevin then told her that in 2005, his father died in a train accident, and after his father died, he was left alone with his mother. His mother often abused him when he was a child until he was severely traumatized. So subconsciously, his subconscious created 23 personalities to protect his body from his situation. This is because he is weak and unable to rebel, so he needs another, stronger personality to protect him from all kinds of harm. Simultaneously, sometimes his 23 personalities communicated with each other in his head. Even though he already has 23 personalities, his two strongest personalities, namely Dennis and Patricia, think that Kevin still needs one more stronger personality. Dennis and Patricia believe that Kevin's 24th personality will soon emerge, described as a tall, big figure who has speed, strength, and can climb walls like a lizard. Dennis and Patricia believe that the creature representing the 24th personality will represent the highest form of human evolution, which they call the beast. One night in the basement, Casey was suddenly visited by Kevin, who became Hedwig. Hedwig took Casey into a room and showed her a walkie-talkie, which he thought was a cool tech device. Casey then tries to find a frequency to talk to people on the same frequency as her. However, when she tried to ask people out there for help through her walkie-talkie, Hedwig immediately turned into Patricia and snatched the walkie-talkie from her hands. Casey was led back to her room. It wasn't long before Dennis' personality emerged using glasses and a long shirt buttoned up to his neck. He threatens Casey that soon a 24th personality will appear, which is the evolution of mankind, where this personality is very vicious and savage. Then, Dennis closed the bedroom door and left Casey alone in the room. Elsewhere, Dr. Fletcher got a few emails from Barry asking her to come over to his house. Barry notified by email that his other personality has come to possess him, so that Barry and some of Kevin's other less powerful personalities need her help. This is because since Kevin kidnapped the three girls, the dominant character of Dennis and Patricia appeared in Kevin. Dr. Fletcher then fulfilled Barry's invitation by coming to his residence. Arriving at Barry's residence, Dr. Fletcher saw Kevin being Dennis. Dennis invites her to enter the basement. When they arrived at the basement living room, Dennis told her that he was waiting for the 24th personality to arrive. While waiting for Kevin's 24th personality to emerge, Dennis and Patricia locked up Kevin's other personalities, so that only Dennis and Patrica's personalities are more dominant in Kevin. Then, Dennis said they need to sacrifice to appear the beast character. It made Dr. Fletcher suspect that Dennis and Patricia had done something terrible hidden in the basement. She then pretended to go to the toilet while checking the room there. When opening a door, she was shocked when she saw a girl who was being held captive. Claire is lying weakly on the floor in a very narrow room. Unfortunately, Dr. Fletcher was caught by Dennis, where he immediately drugged her to not interfere with the beast's arrival. To commemorate the arrival of the beast in Kevin, who will soon appear, Dennis then goes downtown to celebrate by buying a flower and then going to the underground station. He entered an empty carriage. Inside the dark carriage, he began to take off his shirt and bent down and started to crawl with his legs and arms like a beast. He then jumped, ran and crawled on the wall quickly beyond normal human strength. Back in the basement, when Kevin was busy evolving into the beast out there, it turned out that Casey was able to get out of her room and approach a computer in the room. She saw 23 folders appear on the computer screen and opened them one by one. There Casey can see Kevin's 23 personalities with different appearances and characteristics. In another room, Dr. Fletcher had just recovered from her stupor after being hit by drugs, so she tried to write Kevin's full name on a piece of paper and hoped that if he heard his full real name, it would be his weakness and Kevin's true personality would emerge in him. After finishing writing Kevin's full name, Dr. Fletcher is surprised by the appearance of Kevin's figure, who has evolved into the beast. Kevin's entire body looks covered with protruding veins like a wild animal ready to pounce on its prey. Seeing the evolution that happened to Kevin, Dr. Fletcher then realized that humans can exceed their limits if he believes that it will happen. The beast then attacked Dr. Fletcher and broke her spine. Dr. Fletcher counterattacked by thrusting a knife, but she could not penetrate the beast's body. Not long after, she was killed. In another room, Casey managed to find her room key and managed to get out. Then she began to walk through the rooms in the basement one by one. In the first room, she saw Marcia lying dead on the floor. Then, when she looked into the next room, she saw the beast was eating the entrails of her friend, Claire, alive. Then, she ran into the living room and found Dr. Fletcher lying lifeless. Her eyes fell on the table where there was a paper in the handwriting of Dr. Fletcher. She then read the message containing say his full name, Kevin Wendell Crumb. When she finished reading the note, the beast suddenly appeared into the room while climbing the wall with his bare hands like a lizard. Very impressed with the appearance of the beast, Casey then shouted by saying Kevin's full name. The beast immediately descended and writhed in pain. It wasn't long before he turned into the real Kevin. Casey's screams of mentioning his full name, Kevin Wendell Crumb, reminded Kevin of his mother. Flashback memories from childhood then appeared. When little Kevin hid under the bed, he saw his mother take off the bedsheet and crouch down while shouting his full name in that memory. When Kevin realizes and his real personality completely takes over his body, he couldn't remember what had just happened to him. He then asked Casey why she was here. Then, Kevin's gaze turned to Dr. Fletcher. Seeing Dr. Fletcher is dead, Kevin realizes that his other personality has done bad things, so he asks Casey to shoot him with a shotgun. Finished talking, Kevin's real personality suddenly disappeared because another personality appeared that forbade her to shoot him. Casey didn't think much longer. She immediately grabbed a shotgun and ran out of the room to load it with bullets. When she runs, the beast reappears and starts attacking her. The beast managed to cut Casey's leg and tore her clothes like a beast. However, Casey managed to escape and entered a room with iron bars to confine wild animals. Casey locks herself in the iron bars to avoid being attacked by the beast. She started shooting at the beast repeatedly. However, the beast that has evolved turns out to have the strength of a human superhero who is immune to bullets. The beast got up and bent iron bars using only his 2 hands. However, after successfully bending the iron bars and preparing to attack Casey, the beast saw the scars of scratches on Casey's body. The beast felt that Casey had felt the same suffering like him. He then gave up his intention to kill Casey. Casey got the scar from his uncle's treatment when she was little. That's why she has a quiet and gloomy nature. The beast failed to kill Casey because he was only looking for victims who had never felt the pain he experienced as a child. Shortly after, Casey was rescued by a guard who took her out of the basement. She then realized that she was locked up in a zoo's basement where Kevin worked as a zoo staff. Meanwhile, in another place, Kevin is seen in a hiding place. He is also seen having discussions with his other personalities to develop the figure of the beast who is expected to change the world with his powers. The kidnapping incident made headlines everywhere. Kevin was nicknamed the Horde, which means the herd, because he has more than one personality. This news about the Horde provoked a man who worked as a stadium security guard who was none other than David Dunn. The film ends.